wanted to tell this little story, and I've always thought, no one is really going to understand this story and it's going to sound bad, but I'm going to try it on you guys. I've been with the Green Movement a long time. I've been, happening with it before Greens happened. So years and years ago, some of you remember this, Louise Duxbury stood for Green Development. So Green Development was kind of manufactured. And we had this campaign from the south, where she was living, with Simon. They proceeded upwards campaigning. And from the north, Louise, who I think she used to live in Armidale before living down there, they proceeded southwards, and we all met in the Balingup forest. And it had been pretty stressful, this campaigning, because this was the time when if you stood too still and said you were green, people would be kind of obliged to spit on you. And there was this moment of sunlight in the forest, as we came out from this kind of semi-black environment where we'd all been campaigning, and the sun just came out in this little clearing spot, and Simon and Louise saw each other for the first time, and they advanced like this, looking totally delighted. They hadn't seen each other for probably 2 weeks, and they just tilted their pelvies at each other. I'm sure that no one else saw that, but I thought, that is so green. It just epitomised for me what greenness was becoming, the youth and the lust and the will, the desire to put so much energy into something, the I will not give in, but I still love you to bits anyway, even if I come kind of bedraggled. And anyway, that's how I am. I might have come a bit bedraggled, I might have come a bit worn out, but I love you to bits. Thank you very much for having me. Great pleasure to emphasise that kind of thing. But over my lifetime, I've done a study of housewives because I've wanted to improve. I haven't, but I've done this study of housewives, and
that's why I stage this at the CWA, you understand?
This is the place to confess this kind of thing. The walls have heard so many things. And I've discovered that Dutch women are the best housewives in the world because they're incredibly meticulous.
No, it's because the men are so stingy.
They do spring cleaning, and then they do autumn spring cleaning, and then they do a winter spring cleaning, and they do summer spring cleaning, and they're just utterly, completely meticulous. Their houses shine. And Rachel has Dutch ancestry. And, you watch her, and she's out there, she never gives up, she never stops. Everyone will say Rachel is the most hard-working woman they've ever met. And I've watched her for 30 years, I know that's true. And I reckon that Dutch ancestry has gone out and said, okay, this is my home, it's the world, and I'm going to clean it up. And I'm going to make it beautiful. So this woman does that, minute after minute, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. She gets out there cleaning up the world. Thank you.
It's very good. Thank you, everybody. And the comment I made yesterday was you don't actually don't want to see my house at the moment because it does need a little bit of work, as hard as we try to keep it a bit tidy during elections. Thank you for all turning out tonight on a Sunday night. It's fantastic to see you all. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And as a nation, we need to recognise that this land was never ceded, and we still have a lot of unfinished business to do, which is why I make sure that I always acknowledge country, but also I'm trying to make sure that we are constantly aware that there's unfinished business and that we need to start addressing issues around treaty and sovereignty, and I'm really pleased that the discussion is finally getting on the national agenda, and that Bill Shorten has actually uttered the word treaty, because when I was in Melbourne at the 25th anniversary of Reconciliation Australia a couple of Fridays ago, we all got to, the parties each got to get up and say 5 minutes, and he broached the subject at the end of settlement but wouldn't commit to the word treaty, and I now see that he's taken that step further. So once again, the Greens leading the way politically, because we've been out there for quite a period of time, and it's one of our core points of our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander policy that's been there for an extremely long time. So I'm looking forward to participating in that national conversation. what I thought I'd do is quickly talk about a couple of things that we've been working on and then throw open to question and answer, because that actually gets the discussion going and people seem to really enjoy that. So the campaign, we're going into week 7, it's the longest election campaign in living memory. So does anybody remember one even longer? Because I certainly can't. And of course, unofficially we've been going since the beginning, well, since last year, but since the beginning of the year. So everybody is looking forward to the 3rd of July when we can have a sleep in, I hope. It's usually the media. This is actually what happens. We struggle to get into the media. You'll notice that we've got a lot of run in the West Australian, but we struggle on Sunday morning, and it's always the morning, they ring and say, oh, could we come and take a photo of you now that you've won? And idiot, instead of me saying, no, get staffed, you've ignored us for the whole campaign. I usually go, yeah, okay. Turn up somewhere. But I might not do it this Sunday, this 3rd of July. We've been getting a tremendous response around the country. I've spent more time here during the election campaign than in the other interstate. I've been over a couple of times. But wherever I've been in WA, I've been up at Broome, I've been down south, I've been into Albany, around here, in Perth. We've got a really strong positive response, so I think there is a mood for change out there. The polls, you never believe polls, the polls yesterday said we're on 15%. Don't take that as, that's what we're on, but what it is an indication that people are very strongly supporting us, much more strongly than they have before. So that's what we take from those polls. Our flagship issues that we've been working on during the campaign are dangerous climate change, impact of climate change, and I don't need to talk about that to convince you about the impacts of climate change, but that links really strongly to one of our other flagship issues around the new economy and moving us to 100% renewable future, looking at the new technologies that are available, and when I did WA 2.0, some of you may have heard, which is our overall vision for WA, was talking about some of Scott's work that's really developing up our concepts around moving to 100% renewable energy by 2029. And we did some work during the previous election, the by-election in particular, where Scott was working with some of the energy people showing that we could actually move there for businesses at the cost of business as usual. The new work, because we've seen such a development in the technologies, the new work that his office has been doing shows that we can actually get there over the long term cheaper than business as usual. So we're really strongly working on that. Bonus there, of course, is it generates new jobs. We've worked out for WA each year 12 to 14,000 just in terms of the transition on our energy. And of course, great for a future of collie. The other issue then is asylum seekers, one of those big flagships issues, and addressing what I consider our national shame about the way we treat people that are seeking asylum, closing Nauru, closing Manus, bringing people back to Australia, but also funding and supporting processing of with HCU, I never can say it, UNHCR. I could never get the actual letters in the right form, order, in Asia and wherever people are land, so that people don't have to get into leaky boats. We can actually fly them here, making sure that processing is happening much more quickly and effectively. So in other words, generating safe pathways. And the other key thing that we're talking about is inequality. Western Australia in particular, Australia has growing inequality. Western Australia was at one stage the highest state in terms of inequality during the boom. Guess what, folks? Inequality between the people that have lots of wealth and not a lot of wealth. So the top 20% in Australia have 70 times the wealth of the bottom 20%. And it's got worse during the boom. And guess what? The current economic paradigm of you support those at the top and generate wealth and it'll trickle down and float the boats. Well, guess what? Them boats weren't floated. And I know that for a fact if you go and have a look at some of the work that the Bankwest Curtin Economic Centre did, which I used to think a little bit, Bankwest Economic Centre, but they're doing some excellent social justice work, really good work. And so they did a study that was looking at the impact of the boom, and some people have done okay, but those at the bottom haven't done okay enough that addresses the issues around inequality. So we were at one stage when that report came out about 18 months ago, the worst. We're now only in second spot, folks, for the worst, second worst. But we have, so we've got a bit of work to do there. So we've been looking at, I've announced packages because I've got a lot of the portfolios that work in this inequality space. So I've got the social services portfolios, including and the income support portfolios. So we want to increase New Start, independent youth allowance, making sure people move to a system where, like we have universal health and universal education, although there's undermining of that, we have to keep protecting the universality of those services and key things that we see as basic human rights. Social services are also, we're taking a policy of universal social services to move towards that. And also what we want to do is part of our policy is guaranteed adequate income. And so we want to start looking at how we move to that. But some people have heard it called a universal basic income. So we want to start moving towards that, because one of the key reasons for that is the nature of work is changing so much. There's more and more part-time, more casual work. The latest unemployment figures that came out just a couple of days ago showed there had been some generation of jobs that were all part-time work. So what happens with our social security system at the moment is you have to wear down your assets before you can get income support. So if you're in and out of work, you're never saving, because you've got to then rely on your savings if you've generated a bit before you can get New Start, for example, and then you don't have deposit for a house, which is we've also been doing quite a lot of work around housing affordability. So those are the key things that are our flagship issues. We've got initiatives under all of those areas. I was saying yesterday I could talk under wet cement about them all the time. They do. Because we know because we want to go and check sometimes when we're debating something in the Senate, you can't find them. So, we actually have learnt to take screenshots and get copies of them all. Yes, and the Prime Minister, by the way, was caught out on negative gearing, wasn't he? Yeah. So negative gearing, it's all average income people. No, it's not. And ABC's proved that with their Freedom of Information application, or the response they got from that a couple of days ago. Just quickly on that, and then I'll finish up. We've got a policy around negative gearing and capital gains, phase out capital gains, and to stop negative gearing from this financial year. It would save $119 billion over 10 years. Imagine how much social, community and public housing we could do, and how many renters we could support with that money. More directly than filtering it through quite well-to-do people who are buying sometimes their fourth or fifth house. Much more effective way to address housing affordability, of which the regions are significantly increasing. When I did the road trip last year, I was here, some of you were involved in those discussions. We mapped a lot of the issues all the issues people raised with us. Housing affordability was one of them. And the work that Bankwest Curtin Economic Centre has also done, just last week, released a report on housing affordability. Southwest and the regions, housing stress has significantly increased. Albany, really, really significantly. And so we're also doing a lot of work around housing affordability and renters' rights and homelessness, because of course you can't deal with housing affordability without talking about homelessness and vice versa. So those are the issues we're talking about. We're getting a tremendous response in the community, not that you know from mainstream media, but online, and when we do door knocking, we've got more people on the street than door knocking than we've ever had before. And a quick stat for you, we have more people door knocking in the Curtin electorate than we had for the whole of Scott's by-election. And that's just in one electorate.
We had 220 people out this weekend.
Yeah.
Wow. Across yesterday and today.
And last weekend in Perth alone, they door knocked 860 houses. So that's a lot of conversations, and that's how we're getting our message out there, is one-on-one conversations, and we're getting a lot of strong response.
Have you adopted the Jehovah's approach.
What we're finding, actually, yeah, but what we're finding is that people really value being listened to. So we don't go in and, you know, have we got something for you? And we do actually, we work with we actually are training people in listening techniques because people value shock and horror being listened to. Who would have thought that people actually enjoy having a conversation where they can engage in a meaningful way? And it actually overcomes all those myths about us. There's so many myths, and you know, there's still, you know, Christopher Pine. I heard him on the radio while I was in the shower because, as you do, you need to keep up with current affairs. And it's very therapeutic, let me tell you, because you can shout at the radio and no one hears you. But he was saying, you know, the Greens, you know, if you vote for the Greens, you're voting for instability and etc. etc. And I just thought, what has this period of government been other than unstable and uncertain? So anyway, it actually dispels a lot of those myths because people can say, oh, you're just a bunch of, you know, they say, oh, you just care about the environment. Well, actually, no, we've got 4 pillars, and did you know that we're working on this without a lecturing sort of thing, but engaging people and talking to people about what their issues are. So it's been really effective, and that money, we've all got very strong concerns about the way they've cut the headspace, and also very concerned about how that's going to interact with the NDIS. So of course you've got the NDIS down south, and about they expect 13% of people with significant mental health issues will be included in the NDIS, but I've been told there's concerns down here about the way people will access some of those supports, even if they do get NDIS. Yeah. And then if you don't, and then if you don't get NDIS, what sort of supports will be available? So there's strong concerns there.
Through the cracks.
Exactly.
Believe me.
So I agree with you. We have very strong concerns.
Yeah.
And
it's a very right-wing, powerful lobby being handed a lot of power over a very marginalised group of society. It makes me very nervous.
Yes. So we're watching it like the hawk.
Yeah.
I've got Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander issues in one of my portfolios, and I'm sure everybody is aware of the impacts of mental, particularly suicide in Aboriginal communities, and so I take a very strong interest in mental health, particularly for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So
I'd like to talk to you about that afterwards, if you like. I was the creator of the census program, census Aboriginal mental health service.
yes.
So,
Okay. I'd like to talk to you some more.
Yeah.
So I'm particularly concerned there too. I'm particularly concerned when we lobby like hell to get that additional suicide prevention money for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, particularly for the Kimberley, and it was never friggin' spent. Never spent. So it's the equivalent of $25 million that's sitting there because we were reviewing mental health services in Australia, so they never spent the money. So very strong concerns, and it's very clearly on our radar.
that's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Richard,
Can I say when you were on public transport, you
Yeah.
cannot go to Manjinak and back in one day.
yes, and
It
that's
leaves at 1 and it comes back at 1. So that would be really handy.
Yeah.
There would be any possibility.
very clearly. I talked about that in fact Busselton last night. We very clearly heard that we need to address that. Okay. Well, we need to be talking to Lynn McLaren, who's this MLC with the portfolio responsibility. I'll have a chat to her about it in terms of what she can do in the state parliament. Bearing in mind at the moment we've only got 2 state politicians.
It's going on since a while.
Sorry.
It's going on since a while.
Yeah.
The forest issue,
Yeah.
you know. It's
And
about 50
so we
years,
had Janet
wasn't it?
over here last year talking about it, so she's doing stuff at a national level. In terms of Janet Rice is our spokesperson, so she's doing stuff at the national level on it. So I'm happy to talk more about how we can help.